I've had a few hurdles. I've got a young son now, and I've had a few hurdles with that, which, you know, touches close to your heart. You know, when you split up with your missus who you've got a child with, and you're not spending every second of the day with him anymore. It's, you know, you're getting once a week or whatever it is. So that was very hard. But then, you know, I had Scotty. We catch up every Monday, no matter what. We'd go out for dinner, and just not even a chat about what I was going through. It was just a chat about each other. How you doing?
Brilliant.
What are you up to? You know, just a general chat. And then if I had something that was on my chest or something that I was dwelling about in my head, we just talk about it and get it out in the open, and instantly it's like a relief. So you got to know that at the end, there's always that light at the end of the tunnel.
This is Legends with Bevo, thanks to Bet Odyssey, Renelec Electrical Services, and Anytime Fitness Glenelg. And now, here's your host, Bevo.
Two of my former teammates are from the good old Parry Hills Footy Club, Scotty Charlton and Ryan Rebbeck. Great to have you both on Legends with Bevo.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Great to be here.
Now, recently you've done a big trek. It was a 6-day trek over there at Larapinta in Alice Springs, all about raising awareness for mental health. We'll speak about Breakthrough Mental Health, where you guys are doing great things a bit later on. But Charles, we'll get to you first. Mate, how was it over there in Alice Springs? It must have been pretty damn hot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hot. Got hotter as the week went on. I guess the rewards that we got out of it far outweighed the toughness of it. Certainly day one, I remember, which was far from the longest hike or the toughest hike that we had over the 6 days, but I thought halfway through this is going to be a bloody tough week. But no, I think you obviously get fitter for it, and the surroundings that you're in and the people that you're with make it a breeze to get through, really. When you look back at it, you don't think about the hard things, you think about the good things we were so very fortunate to experience. And
would have been times where you sort of thought, gee, this is really tough. How did you sort of push through those when you got to that sort of situation? Because I've seen on SAS Australia, that TV show that's going gangbusters, how tough, you know, that is for those sort of guys, and you guys would have experienced it yourself, Charles.
100%. I'll probably point to one example straight off the bat. I think it was day one, late in the day. One of the director of Breakthrough, his wife fell down and broke her wrist in 2 places, I believe, both bones. In the end, we were probably 2 k's from the end of that particular, 2 to 3 k's from the end of that particular hike. And we are literally in the middle of nowhere. We have to get to the end. She had to get to the end of the hike just to get through it. Yeah, I get goosebumps thinking about it. We'd pushed a little bit ahead, and so she had to follow, holding her arm the whole time in all sorts of pain. Very little pain relief above Panadol, you know. And not only did she have to hike end of that particular day, which was, like I said, 3 k's, but she also had to go in the back of a 4-wheel drive bus, which was about as uncomfortable as you can get, all the way back to Alice Springs, which I think from that location was 100 odd k's. Yeah. On bumpy roads, like, talk about as tough as it gets, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and she was particularly, not just with us, but with everyone, she was a bit of a mother figure out there, and we were looking forward to getting to know her, obviously, and hearing her story. And we'd only met her once or twice beforehand, and she was taken from us, you know, from a selfish point of view, taken from us for the rest of that week and from the group. And yeah, that was it for her part of the trek. And then it came a big commute of, you know, her husband going back, and her best friend was also on the trek. And yeah, fortunately I had my ute up there because I drove up to Alice Springs, so I gave them the keys, and they took it at turns and coming back to the trek and heading back to the hospital, looking after her and helping her out and staying with her. And but to the second part of your question, how did we get through it? I remember his wife came up to me and said, you know, there was one other lady there that worked for Breakthrough on the trek, and he said, you know, can you just give Nadine a bit of a hand, because, you know, she's going to be on her own now with you guys. And to be honest, and it sounds horrible, but I reckon that first night around the campfire we had one of the best nights, because everyone was down, everyone was flat, and the only way we were going to get through it was a couple of beers, and that was all it was, a couple of beers. And there was 12 of us in total, so 2 down on that night, 10 of us, so 9 new friends. Well, 8 new friends, because I'm bonehead here, but 8 new friends. And I remember sitting around the campfire about half an hour in, you know, as the sun was going down and the dark was starting to take over, thinking this is going to work. Yeah, and we all bonded as a group, and
Wonderful.
we'll forever be thankful of the group that we went away with.
Yeah, it's good. Bit of an open platform for everyone to tell their own little story too. So,
And your own experience, Rebbs, how did you find it?
mate, I absolutely loved it. You know, everyday life, your phone goes off all day, and we're out in the middle of nowhere in Alice Springs on this Larapinta Trail. Beautiful views. You know, people who we've met once, twice, some of them never before.
Never.
Just to not have my phone ring was unbelievable. But, you know, like Scotty says, we're in the middle of nowhere with people we don't know, and that you get to the end of the trek and you're sitting around the campfire. That was definitely a highlight for me, sitting around talking about absolutely nothing, and then someone will share something so small, and then the stories that formed and the bonds we made in that short period of time was great. I loved it.
That's wonderful. We've spoken about this before off air, and you've had your own challenges when it comes to mental health. Tell us about it, mate, what you've sort of been through and sort of how you come through it over the other side, so to speak.
Yeah, mate. So going back, probably 10 plus years now, I sort of started a little downhill climb. I'm that happy guy, happy-go-lucky, and I thought everything was going right, and I bought my first house back in the day, and I probably lived in there for about 2 weeks, and we had this huge downpour of rain, and I come home from work and everything's going well, and my whole house is completely flooded, and I had one power point in the whole house that worked, and basically I bought a lemon. And you know, I was leaving for work in the dark, getting home in the dark, and I was sort of running myself ragged. The footy club we were struggling a little bit, and I sort of took it all on board, and I blamed myself for everything. So that downhill climb got steeper and steeper. Split up with the missus at the time. Yeah, and I just ended up, what I did was I sheltered myself from my mates and hid from my mates and spent a lot of time in my room in the dark and just sort of avoided the topic, because I'm not that kind of guy. I look back and think, I'm not the guy. I don't have depression. I'm too strong. I'm too manly. I'm a boy's boy. You know, we don't get depressed. And I was sort of hiding away, and Mum come over one night and just said, you're not yourself, you know, like you're not going out, you're not doing what you're doing. And she just sat down and we had a chat, and she said, maybe we should go see a doctor and just go have a chat. And that was sort of something I never even thought about it. So I went and had a chat, and yeah, it turns out I had depression, and just from talking with the doctor, it was a massive step for me. And then I just sort of built on it. Like I had mates, close mates, get around me, and you know, instead of just ringing me and say, let's go to the pub, and I'll say, nah, I'm all good, they were like, all right, well, we'll come to you. So they'd bring a 6-pack of beers and they'd come over to me. And then, you know, over the years, I took medication, and I just got better and better and learnt more about what depression was. And, you know, then I think everything's going all good. I'm back to my normal self and all this. And then I had another hiccup, you know, like I've had a few hurdles. I've got a young son now, and I've had a few hurdles with that, which, you know, touches close to your heart. You know, when you split up with your missus who you've got a child with, and you're not spending every second of the day with him anymore. It's, you know, you're getting once a week or whatever it is. So that was very hard. But then, you know, I had Scotty. We'd catch up every Monday, no matter what. We'd go out for dinner, and just not even a chat about what I was going through. It was just a chat about each other. How you doing?
Brilliant.
What are you up to? You know, just a general chat. And then if I had something that was on my chest or something that I was dwelling about in my head, we just talk about it and get it out in the open, and instantly it's like a relief. So yeah, it's not a nice thing to go through at all, but you got to know that at the end, there's always that light at the end of the tunnel, and there's always people there. So don't be shy, don't be scared to talk about it. Just talk about it, get out in the open, and that is a huge step of becoming great.
Well done. Yeah, and obviously I used to play footy with you, I know well, Rebbs, and you are such a happy-go-lucky sort of guy. So when you hear your story, it just makes you realise that anyone can get depression.
Yeah.
And what you see on the outside is not necessarily what it's like on the inside. So it's great that you've...
Absolutely. You've mentioned we all play footy and all that, and we've got guys at the footy club who we've done a fair bit of work with through Breakthrough Foundation, and they've put 4 of us through the mental health first aid course. And since doing that, we've had probably 4 or 5 people who you don't know are struggling at all sort of step forward and, you know, pull one of us aside and just say, hey, can I have a chat? And it's just people you have no idea about. Like, we could be sitting here right now and Scotty could be down in the dumps and you would never even know until someone really says something or you take that step to ask the question. It could be anyone. So encourage as many people as possible to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charles, your own experience, mate?
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I haven't had too much to deal with other than, a bit of burnout at times and things like that. But, I mean, there's been times when I've rang up Ryan as well and said, I don't know, you up for dinner tonight or on Thursday night because I need to have a man chat with you, which is something I never would have done back in the past. And exactly like Ryan said, it's over that moment that we leave because you either vented your issues or whatever. But my experience has been more around connecting with Breakthrough Foundation and trying to, as a football club, which I'm president of now, as you know, reach out to our greater community and serve a purpose for our greater community that hopefully can have a positive influence because there's 100 plus senior players and members and 250 plus junior players and members. That's a pretty big reach we have into our own little community. And from the moment I sort of took over, I wanted to do something. I didn't know at the time what, and that's when I guess mental health reared its head to me to say, this is probably, of all the issues going around, this is what you've probably got to deal with in your club, number one. And just happened at that time of life that Breakthrough sort of came along in our lives.
And you're doing wonderful things, so keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Do you remember going back, Charles, in terms of the first real big failure that you had, whether it's, I guess, with your business or whether it was personal or what it might have been, and how you felt and sort of how you overcame that challenge?
I mean, I have a big one, which was work involved back around 2006-07, which coincidentally happened to be a pretty high time of our sporting life, which was a big part of my life back then. It still is, I guess, in a different way. But I had my particular project that I was on was all sorts of deadline pressures that you get in the construction industry and a national client. And I actually remember I was with a girl at the time who also worked at the same company. And I look back on that now and I think the reason she came into my life was to get me through that moment, because I've never had any issues in the past. I've always been the same way I am today for the last 20 years. I lost 5 kilos through stress. I'd cry in my girlfriend's arms. I'd think about work 24/7 for about a period of 3 months. And that was, probably, wouldn't say it's the lowest time of my life because I've had bigger issues than that in life in regards to losing people and so forth and things like that. But as far as the world being on top of you and, when you're at your hardest point, that's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to live through and get through. And, I had thoughts of, no one will ever hire me again and just a total failure of a job, which ended up being a interesting point because the superintendent of that project actually ended up recommending me for a job down the track, and I think it was because I cared so much, which was a good thing, but also probably why I was not eating and living the stress of a job. So it's funny how work can get you there. My old man was going into a nursing home at the time as well, and I was stressed more about the work because it was all encompassing and emails don't stop and you got to go the next day and front.
Got to put food on the table, don't you, mate?
That's right. You got to keep going, and you just, I guess, in your head, because it's so all encompassing, you just make it bigger than it is. It's the rest of your career. It's the rest. I look back and almost laugh now, but when it's on top here, that stress that probably not much more than your work or your family can deliver. That can be hardcore stress, and it's thankfully for me it was very temporary, but it was a very tough, probably the toughest period I've ever lived through, 2 or 3 months.
Oh, thanks for sharing, mate. And Rebbs, what about yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I've had many failures. Like, I look back at a few times when I was a bit younger, I never really had a goal of what I wanted to do or anything like that. So I sort of think, when I was 21, I was just coasting through life, just doing whatever. I didn't really care and have a purpose. I was pretty fortunate to get on House Rules, and then that sort of led me in the direction to going out on my own. And now I've had my own business for 7, 8 years now. So when I say failure, maybe I let myself down a little bit with where I was, but you know, I'm on a high with that. And the only other thing I can think of really is no one really wants to have a child and separate, you know, have a split family. But again, I look at it, you know, it's not a failure, it's just a stepping stone in life. And, you know, I'm pretty happy where I am at the moment and everything. You know, I love seeing my son and spending time with him. So as long as that continues to happen, it's not a failure at all. So yeah. I don't really have anything for you there, Bevo.
No, that's perfectly fine. And yeah, obviously we know about this personally, and also off air we're speaking about it, the challenges that you've had with your son Hawker. So it's so great that you're able to see him now and you see the smile on your face.
Oh mate, he's the best. I dropped him off less than an hour ago, and you know when he says, you say your goodbyes, and he looks at you in the eyes and he says, "I love you, Daddy." I love you too, mate. You know, you just give him a kiss and he runs off, and just wait for that next moment where you see him again and he gives you that big hug and kiss. It's the best. It's so good. It's so good.
You forget about all the lack of sleep and the nappies and everything else.
You do. You do. You forget about all your stresses when you got him. It's great.
Actually, to be honest, his big failure is probably going to come up in the next hour when I flog him on the tennis court.
Yeah, we actually, that's probably, I'm pretty competitive, and you know, we play a lot of footy together, and we also don't mind a hit at the table tennis here and there, and I whoop him every time. And last year we sort of started getting into a bit of the proper tennis on court.
Good work.
And we've probably played 100 games, and I reckon I've beaten him twice. So there you go. I'm letting myself down. He's not bad.
Yeah, that would hurt you, right?
Yeah, it does. It hurts my soul.
With this foundation, when do you sort of feel as though, I mean, we spoke about 2019 with the success that you guys had with the footy club there. Do you remember something with Breakthrough Mental Health where you thought, yeah, we're actually really winning here? This is that sort of that moment where you thought, yeah, we're doing really good things, and was that sort of 2019, or has there been other situations?
It's almost, I mean, we're very fortunate. I mean, you know, we didn't go into it to get anything out of it. As our footy club has been, you know, it just constantly gives back, I guess. It's hard to pick a particular, you know. I've had the president of Goody Saints ring me and say how well we're doing as a footy club and how they look up to us, and I'm like, it's Goody Saints. My God.
Was that Nords?
We look up to you. No, that wasn't. I know we've spoken about that. Yeah. That was Craig, but but probably initially first on, we had a bit of trouble early because we'd already chosen a mental health path, and we'd already set a date for our first day, round 3 of the first year, and we were well along the way to doing it, but we were doing it with Beyond Blue, was it? Beyond Blue,
yeah. Beyond Blue, yeah.
And because they were a bit more satellite, it was logistically a bit
hard,
difficult. It wasn't straightforward as we hoped it would be. Like, we're doing a good thing, this should be easy. Probably about not even less than 2 months out from that round 3 mental health day that we were going to have at the footy club, John spoke in front of an SANFL forum that I was at, and I swear before he was off stage I was in front of him and I said, we need to do something here because this is what we've been trying to do and this is where we want to go, and I think you're the organisation we need to do it with. So we exchanged numbers. I rang Ryan as soon as I got in the car when I left and said, this is the path we're going to go down. And I remember probably the Sunday after that round 3 day, we were counting out the money and we got up to $15,007. And
blown away.
Yeah, that was the moment. That was the moment when you're like, wow, we've done some good here. We've started a new conversation at our footy club, and it's clear that the people of our community are on board too, because
wonderful.
What we've done in such a short time just blew us away.
And what about yourself, Rebbs, from your point of view?
Yeah, mine's probably the same as Scotty's. You know, we sat down sort of with I think there was maybe 4 or 5 of us in the group. We just sat at the pub and just had a discussion about a mental health thing. Let's do something round 3, and just started off as a chat, and then the more we got into it as the weeks went by, the people sort of dropped off, and it was just really us 2 left. And then we were doing the things through Beyond Blue, and it was like Charlton says, it was a bit difficult. Just we had to match the right colours and all that stuff. It was a bit hard. And, we both work and play footy and all that. And then Charlton met John from Breakthrough, and then we just sort of basically went with the punches. We just were just going with the flow. Didn't have much time left, and on the Sunday, the day actually on the Saturday, the day went great. We had Guernseys made, and it was an unreal day, and we didn't really know what we were going to expect. And then on the Sunday, when we counted the money that we raised, and it was over 15 grand, that was pretty surreal. And we even said to ourselves, and we still haven't really done it yet, I suppose Alice Springs was a little bit of it, but we need to sit down and soak up what we're doing and what we've done, because what we're doing is great. The money we're raising is unbelievable for Breakthrough Foundation, but just the awareness that we've made through the footy club, through the community club, and just through our little community is unreal. So round 3, 2019, I think it was, that was massive for us. The Sunday was a great turning point.
We're also able to fund a mental health research line, which is around, it takes a village to raise a child, and that's through sport. So to have Parry Hill's name on a little funding package for mental health research was another nice moment. But what probably more so now for me is to see what other clubs are doing around the league. Shout out to Goody Saints. Paraka had a massive year in the support of Breakthrough Foundation. And, just the footy clubs in general getting around Breakthrough now is just wonderful to see, and the support they get from the Adelaide Footy League community.
And the SANFL as well now.
And the SANFL,
absolutely.
And the AFL's, next as well, and they already do great things with the Crows and Port. So
wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have watched them grow.
Was it with your own battles, Rebbs, that you decided to get involved, and how did it all begin?
Yeah, so where it all began really was we needed to do a big day at the footy club. We needed to do a big day and sort of bring everyone close together. So it wasn't even about mental health then. It was just about we needed to do something. And then it was actually Scott's idea, let's do it on mental health. And when, my ears pricked up because, the troubles I've had, and, he obviously knew that, so he got me involved heavily. Yeah, that's pretty much how it just started. And when the ball just kept rolling, and we had our ups and downs. But once we were on. And then, to win that, we didn't win an award. We got nominated for a community award or whatever. And that was a privilege in itself. But yeah, with the Breakthrough Foundation, it just happened. It just began. It just did it. It did it all by itself. And then, luckily enough, like the players we've got, they donated their match payments for the day, and we had a lot of stuff a lot of prizes and raffles and stuff, which people really got behind. But when John come and spoke at our footy club on the same day at presentation night, you look around at the club and you got those rowdy people who were normally rowdy. You could see them; they were staring at John and they were involved in his conversation.
How good!
And that was goosebump stuff. That was people were interested, and people wanted to know what he was saying, and yeah,
struck a chord.
It definitely was good.
You're right about the rowdiness at footy club. You definitely get loud on the Saturday night.
Oh yeah,
you're one of the main culprits.
Yeah, I put my hand up. That's my bad.
And Charles, your own experience?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I was trying to get something to hopefully do a bit of good around our community, and we've had our issues around the club. We have a Cooper Cutting Award, which is unfortunately around suicide, and we knew of at the time when we were starting to think about it, what to do. A few people with a few different issues, and yeah, it just became a no-brainer, and Ryan touched on it. As soon as John and I made that contact, it was a marriage made in heaven, and it is. They say we're part of the Breakthrough family, but they're part of the Parry Hills Footy Club family as well, and it truly is. It's like catching up with friends when we see each other. I mean, Larapinta's obviously galvanised that a little bit as well, but it's not just the people there, it's everyone from, Breakthrough have been so accommodating to us and so helpful with anything we've needed to do, or whether it be getting wine for a
wine wall,
wine wall, money raiser or whatever it might be. Nothing's too hard from them, and yeah, it's beyond the working relationship now. It is a true friendship, But you know, it's never over. The battle's never won. Just at the end of this footy season, I found out about an issue with one of our junior lads that never sort of made it to where it needed to, and you know, just shows that no matter what you're doing, you can never be doing enough to get the word out there and help everyone. And through that, you know, we'll look at different ways to make sure we probably was senior centric with our messages. You know, it's become pretty abundant that we need to get that across. You know, the junior side of the club as well, because there is school bullying. You know, that's horrible, and online bullying and all of those things. So, you know, just means we haven't won, mate.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And going forward, what's the plans next couple of years, boys? Have you got some more fundraisers happening, or?
Well, actually, so I think it was last year, the year before last, we did a little mini golf day, and it was just something small at Mawson Lakes Golf Club. You know, we just did the 9 holes, and I think we maybe had 30 people rock up. We ended up on that day. It was a great day, heaps of fun. You know, everyone had a good time, and we still managed to raise, I think it was just over $5,000 for something that we didn't really plan too much. We sort of thought it would
just a pre-season get together and hopefully raise a bit of coin.
So we've actually got some mates who we made on the Larapinta Trail who have just done a golf day, and they happened to raise $70,000. So
kudos to Tom and Mitch.
Tom and Mitch, if you're listening, mate, well done, guys. It's an amazing effort.
Jeez,
so look, we're not looking to do that. These guys know some pretty good people and stuff, but we are looking at upping our golf day this year, so maybe every second year. So we're coming into it. So this is our next challenge, and you can come on board and help us out a little bit better.
Absolutely, I might bring some celebrities with me.
Yeah,
so.
have a swing. You won't beat us though. We're pretty good, you know.
No, you beat me.
But yeah, like we'll just keep plodding along, keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully, get a few more radio gigs and a few more chats on Legends with Bevo, mate.
Always welcome, boys. No, I love it.
We're also looking to do our round this year, combine it with an Indigenous round and design an Indigenous Guernsey. I haven't been on the Larapinta track again, you know, certainly made me appreciate the connection with land and the culture that, you know, unfortunately has probably been taken away from our first people. So we think it's important to combine the two, and it's something we've spoken about for a little while anyway. We have Indigenous lads around the club, and obviously plenty around the league, so we just think it's a good way to combine the two messages, and so that'll probably be our big part of our breakthrough round this year, our annual breakthrough.
Big fundraising day.
We'll have to get you boys on again when that gets closer to promote
absolutely.
it. So,
we'll bring you a Guernsey.
Oh,
Yeah.
Done. Hey, Scotty, Charlton and Ryan, Rebbs, thanks so much for joining us on Legends with Bevo. Love what you're doing, keep up the great work, and look forward to speaking to you both again soon, as I said.
Thank you very much for having us, mate.
Absolutely great to catch up with you, mate.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, boys.